Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Path Towards Remembrance, in which we are going to talk about the hidden Earth's ice wall and the Great Awakening. So, it's been a while since I've recorded something quite recent, and today I would like us to think about a couple of interesting concepts that I've been exploring with my SoulScension students for the past 3 months. And the topic will actually revolve around where we are, because if we think about the upcoming ascension cycle that so many of different spiritual communities are talking about, we have to realize, and first we have to ask to ourselves actually, where are we? What are we doing here? And like, where exactly are we in context of this galaxy and even in context of this planet? So, something that I've been exploring with my students for these past few months was actually that we live on a much bigger Earth than we think we are on, and that there's actually so many different lands of this planet that have not been explored yet. And this might be connected to, maybe some of you are familiar with it. There's many flat Earth communities that are talking about it, and I'm not really connected to these, but I do take some of their perspectives where you have like a certain frequency fence that is referred to as the ice wall. And let's say it's like a certain fence around our planet that is actually not allowing us to explore the entirety of what our Earth has to offer in here. So I would like us to look into this aspect today, where we actually are, because I decided to divide this series into two parts. In part one, we are going to explore the ice wall theory and how is that connected to what's going on the South Pole. Because right now, when we look at our planet and we look at, let's say, certain things that are happening both on the 3D plane as well as the energetic level, there's a lot of activity taking place on the South Pole. And I would like us to talk about it because this is connected to the ascension cycle that we are entering already. Like, we actually entered it already last year, but we are still in this very intense period of transition. So I want us to look into that and think about it a little bit, because it's gonna give us a very interesting idea where we actually are, and how we can use certain passages on this planet in order to find our way to, let's say, other realms of Earth and, of course, beyond it. So I'm going to share the presentation with all of you, and we are going to have a chance to explore these various subjects. And I will be also releasing part two, in which I will dive deeper into the context of ascension, like how this information that I'm sharing in this video fit into the entire story with the ascension cycle. So let's take a look. I will be using certain terms in this video that might be familiar to you or may not be familiar to you, but we're just gonna like take these names as a certain concept so that we can understand what all of this is about. So I will be using two terms here. First, we will have the Aurora Earth, and then we have the net Earth. So when I talk about the Aurora Earth, let's say I will be talking about like a very large planetary body, and net Earth is just like a small segment of Aurora Earth. So we can imagine it this way, that I don't agree with the flat Earth theory in context where I do believe that we live on a sphere, but I think that the sphere that we live on is much bigger than we are being told. So Aurora Earth is in a way like that big planetary mass that I'm talking about. And then the net Earth is just a small segment of Aurora Earth that we live on. And so that means that we don't have the full access to all of the lands and continents that this planet really has to offer here. So I'm gonna read this segment that I originally prepared for my SoulScension classes so that we have a bigger idea what actually I'm talking about here. Aurora Earth is a divine sphere that follows the sacred geometry and Christic ratio. It is a self-luminous, primordial expression of Arion in external creation. So that means that Aurora Earth is a sphere. It's a planetary sphere. And actually, Aurora was originally a star. Our planet had, let's say, like a layer of chromosphere that was creating a certain environment for the life field so that we can actually maintain our eternal life potential through mainly the solar symbiosis process. Anyway, we're gonna get to this part a bit later. Net Earth is a segment of Aurora Earth, one of the 12 probability dominions of the larger planetary body of consciousness. In a way, Net Earth is flat Earth. It is a piece of land of spherical aurora. So, looking at it from this perspective, what I mean by 12 probability dominions is that in the organic mechanics of timelines and, let's say, like the vectors and probabilities, let's say that if we have a certain three-dimensional harmonic set, so like you have three dimensions and they form a density, we have 12 probabilities within like a three-dimensional harmonic set, as if it is referred. And we can have a concept of it that these 12 probabilities are forming a clock. So let's imagine that as we are here, we are just like one of these 12 probabilities. And there's like other 11 versions of ourselves. We can kind of think about it as like alternative timelines or different like probability realms in which all sorts of different things can happen. The reason why we are having such structure of 12 probabilities on a personal level is because our soul wants to have as many different experiences as possible in order to, evolve into more and more perfected version of itself, more and more aligned with its eternal blueprint. And the same structure applies to the planet. So if we have 12 probable selves, like 12 different versions of our incarnate identity, all aligned with a common center point, we also have 12 planetary timelines or probability dominions. That's the same thing. So each of our probable selves is located on one of the 12 probable dominions of planet Earth. And now when we are talking about Aurora Earth and the Net Earth, Aurora is like a composite of all these 12 probability dominions, while Net Earth is just one of them. From what I remember, I do believe we are probability number 12. And we are kind of merging our frequencies with probability 3 because this one on probability 3 is kind of special in context of planet Earth because that probability is still very much connected to the Great Tartarian timeline, while ours suffered from a reset. Anyways, that's how it looks like. And now if we take a look at this map, right here, where we have, it's titled The World Beyond the Ice Wall, we can get a basic concept. And now, I wouldn't say that this map is 100% accurate, but I'm using all of these images that I will show you on this presentation just like as a certain idea, so that we can have a visual to help us understand how this works. So right here on the inside, we have the net Earth. We can see all these 7 continents and the 5 oceans, basically the geography that is familiar to us. And then around it, we have the ice wall. And the ice wall is separating us from other continents, from other realms that are in Aurora Earth. So all these continents and pieces of land and islands that we can see on the outside, these ones are actually Aurora Earth. But this is still the same planet. So we live on a very big planet called Aurora, And net Earth is just like a small segment of it. And if we perceive it from this perspective, we actually realize that there's just so many different places on this planet that we haven't seen yet, that we haven't connected to for a very long time, more or less since the times of Atlantis. Because as we're gonna find out through the rest of the presentation, there are certain passages on this planet, let's say on net Earth, that are allowing us to access the other probabilities of aurora, and these are becoming especially important in context of the upcoming ascension cycle, but I will get to it. So, just to summarize what I've said so far, Aurora Earth basically equals the full incarnate self identity, 12 probable selves and 12 alternative selves. And net Earth is a single probability dominion that is a part of the larger aurora body structure. So, in a way, what happens is that currently Aurora Earth has been split into multiple segments because the 12 probabilities have been disconnected from each other. I mean, in the past, we would be able to just travel back and forth between them. Right now, we are isolated within the structure of the ice wall that you can also see on this image. So this ice wall is actually referred to as the holographic barrier that creates a magnetic repulsion zone that prevents access to other probabilities of Earth. So our goal is to actually reclaim that connection. And this is connected to something that I do expect will be like a major area of interest in some of the scientific communities, where we talk about the tectonic plates, because we have multiple tectonic plates on net Earth, but actually I would say we have like many more on this in the structure of Aurora Earth. And the thing is that when Aurora Earth, that big planetary body, is moving its tectonic plates, Aurora Earth can actually move some tectonic plate from one probability to the other. So if we wanted to, if we actually had the knowledge of it, we would be able to move Africa from this probability, which is number 12, let's say, to probability number 6. All of that was possible, and that's kind of like how certain civilizations were able to travel in time. They were able to travel through stargates, but they were also able to move their lands and continents with them. So that actually becomes very interesting. So tectonic plates are not fixed parts of Earth. They are fluid segments of Earth's bioenergetic body that can smoothly travel between various probability dominions of Earth. In 2026, changes in Earth's tectonic plates will be progressing faster, but not due to climate change, but shifts in the vibrational templates of Earth as it is preparing for its shift to Eternal YhU-Rha Dha Cycles. Because something that I mentioned in many of my videos is that since Earth is progressively changing its vibrational structure, that applies to Aurora, not just to net Earth, our planet Earth will be progressively transitioning to the eternal creation domain in order to reconnect with its eternal self aspect, known as Urea Earth. And before that happens, there will be certain lands, certain continents that will be actually going through actual physical transfiguration from the 3D realm into the higher realms of the Jura Lake Conservatory Eternal Creation Cycles. So it's possible that some pieces of land will be actually making that transition. And that's also related to the timeline split, but we'll talk about it on the next video. And now, as these changes in the vibrational templates of Earth are progressing, we might see it in slight movements in different tectonic plates detected in the net Earth realm. So they will be trying to blame it on the climate change or some shifts in the planetary core and stuff like that. But actually, this is related to the natural changes that will be taking place in the structure of our continents. So let's take a look deeper at the structure of Aurora Earth. So Aurora Earth, if we wanted to think like, okay, so I have like this really big piece of land called Aurora, so it's not just the 7 continents, it's much more. How does it look like? And again, we can look at it from a structure of a clock, but the difference is that this clock is kind of like it has a structure of like a cake. So if you wanted to separate Aurora into 12 probabilities, which is the case, you kind of divide Aurora into 12 segments. And the tip of each segment is aligned with the planetary core of Aurora. So actually, if we look at it this way, when we work from probability 12, connecting to the know-me seed, the know-me seed was not inserted just into the net Earth, but it was inserted into Aurora Earth. And that is allowing us to actually we can go down to the know-me seed and connect to the other probabilities of Earth through the core of the planet, which is 1. So even though there's 12 separate probabilities that used to be connected with each other, the common center point is always the core of the planet that connects all of these probabilities together and allows them to kind of like stay in the energy exchange. A network of additional passages and portals that link various probability alternative dominions with each other is referred to as the Aby'ssah Passages. Organic transition and travel between various probability alternative systems becomes possible through activation of the personal wheel of fortunes, which means reconnecting with your 12 probable selves that reside in each one of these 12 probability dominions of Earth. The main Aby'ssah passage from net Earth to other probability dominions is located on the South Pole in Antarctica. And that's why Antarctica will be like a very it will be an area of great interest over the next upcoming years, because one of the ways to get out of this planet is going through certain portal passages to the South Pole. So let's just say there's a certain portal in South America that allows you to just go through it and you find yourself on the other side in the South Pole. And from there, you can go through ascension. So I'll be explaining that more as we go along because it's one of the ascension pathways as well. So let's take a look at the structure of net Earth first. So like the realm that we know, 7 continents, 5 oceans, and the best way to kind of like think about our planet is if we don't look at it like from a square map, but a circular map, just like in here where the North Pole is like the center of the map. And then what we call Antarctica, which is the South Pole, is actually the ice wall. So a current part of the planet that we know as Earth, with 7 continents, 5 oceans, and a 13 billion world population. And I didn't make a mistake here, because we actually have more than 8 billion people on the planet, because we have 3 billion underground, and we have 2 billion individuals in the atmospheric planes. So our planet has much more human beings than we can imagine, because our planet is not just a surface layer, it's actually multi-layered. So there's certain, let's say, fields of existence in the atmosphere and also in the underground, in the areas of Earth's crust. Net Earth is the 12th probability dominion of Aurora Earth, located on its authentic North Pole, representing the core probability dominion that watches over the integrity of all other probability systems. So that means that our role is especially important, because if our probability, let's say, goes through full ascension, then the rest of the probabilities will follow. We are number 12, so we are like the main one. Net Earth is a segment of the larger celestial body of Aurora. In a way, it is a flat piece of a larger planetary consciousness. This indicates that in organic conditions, net Earth is an organic part of our bigger planetary mass known as Aurora, and it is intended to remain in perpetual energy exchange with other probability dominions via the Aby'ssah Passages and the YhU-Rha chamber. YhU-Rha chamber is the one that connects the North and the South Pole together. It kind of merges in the Earth's core. And then the Aby'ssah passages are the, let's say, time portals located in different areas of the net Earth that link us to the South Pole and other probabilities of Earth. These are like the three ways of passage. And this is on this image here, we can see the ancient map created by Hyperboreans, which is actually showing us the North Pole as the central point of our planet, which I definitely agree with. So, before we get to discovering the South Pole a little bit more, I just want us to talk about Aurora Earth as that bigger planet that we are located on, and its organic structure, how it actually used to look like, what are its main what makes Aurora special, to put it simply. So, Aurora is a spherical planetary celestial body of consciousness that follows the divine principles of the Christic sacred geometry and the Christic spiral ratio. Aurora is a star planet. Its self-luminous plasmatic structure of the planetary core emits a radiant spherical layer in the upper layers of the planetary atmosphere, referred to as the chromosphere. This radiant layer gives color to the sky perceived from the surface of Aurora Earth, making it ivory in color. So we actually have something special about Aurora is that it also used to emit its own light, like that chromosphere layer, which makes Aurora not just a planet, but also a star. And the chromosphere layer was allowing for certain very complex plasma conversion processes to take place between Aurora Earth and the Sun. And this was allowing us to later pick up these organic solar currents into our bodies to complete the solar symbiosis process for cellular regeneration and for maintaining the eternal life potential. And something that is currently going on with, maybe some of you have seen that even for the past 2 years, and we will actually have more and more auroras to be expected. Throughout 2026 and 2027, auroras are expected to be seen in many places on the planet. So not just near the poles like in Norway or Sweden or Finland, but they will be seen everywhere. In specific locations where, let's say, certain passages called the Aby'ssah Passages to other probability dominions of Earth are opening, as well as to the bright flower gardens. Their presence of the auroras is a sign of the bright flower gardens awakening on a mass level, transmitting the eternal flows of YhU-Rha in order to prepare the planetary life field for the 2027-2028 ascension cycle. So the more auroras we see on our planet, the better sign it will be for us that certain changes are happening on this planet, and these changes are for the better, because it's like the more of the YhU-Rha flows this planet will accrete as an Aurora Earth. The bright flower gardens will reawaken, and the ascension wave will get more and more powerful. It will have more thrust. The reason why currently we don't have the chromosphere and, we don't really have an access to other probability dominions of Earth is because of the entire planetary agenda that started in the times of Atlantis. Actually, I would say it started 3 million years ago during the second seeding. And it's been continuing until about 25,000 years ago, when the portal passages to other probability dominions of Earth were completely shut down. So, these stories from the Middle Ages and a little bit afterwards about someone going on some journey through the sea and, suddenly discovering some lands that have never been described before. Some of them were described to were said to be Atlantis. Some of them were named the other ways. Or like even these stories about the utopian civilizations. All of them are actually referring to other probabilities of Earth because still back in the day, before the Tartarian reset, there were like a lot of different passages that were still partially functional. And if you had a ship on a very like sensitive area like the Bermudas or like places where the electromagnetic fields would be very intense, then there was a very high chance that you would potentially be kind of like your ship would be like sucked into like a certain vortex and you would re-emerge on the other side in another probability. So these kind of like magical stories about time travel and all of that, it's going back to the Aby'ssah era where these travels were still possible. Right now, because of the insertion of the planetary frequency fence, the astral frequency fence, as well as the ice wall, we lost an access to most of these probability dominions. And also something that happened in the structure of not just the net Earth, but Aurora, because if we wanted to think about it this way, like when we talk about the pole shift happening on the planetary level, well, that's not just going to happen to net Earth, that's going to happen to the entirety of Aurora. So right now, because of what happened approximately 200,000 years ago, is that the current north is actually the south. So our map is actually in reverse. And it's a very interesting way to look at it because we actually realize that if we want to get to the center of this planet, and we know that the center is the North Pole, we don't go to the North Pole like above Russia or Canada and like right there. We actually go towards the south and to the South Pole. So countries like Australia, New Zealand, we even have Madagascar, Mauritius, Argentina, Chile. These will be like the main locations where we can find the Aby'ssah Passages to the South Pole. So I just think that like just looking at this map in itself and just seeing it from reverse helps us realize that um, the configuration of the continents is very, very interesting in here. And that's because the poles got reversed on the entirety of the aurora. So it's like it happened to all of the probabilities. That's why the pole reversal can just wipe out the entirety of the human race. It is this extreme. And for this reason, like the Egyptians used to draw our map from reverse, like let's say where we had the south, they were drawing it from the north, because they knew that the pole reversal is actually a very real thing. And one more thing that happened to Aurora was not just the pole shift, but also the destruction of the atmosphere. So I'm gonna read that excerpt so that we actually know what happened here. Additionally, insertion of various advanced AI technology devices into the core of Aurora and its atmospheric layers created the red pulse-based magnetosphere that destroyed the organic layers of Aurora's atmosphere. This procedure deprived Aurora of its status as a celestial body star and prevented it from achieving the successful levels of biothermal life force currents essential for the solar symbiosis process to occur. So right now, Aurora basically doesn't lost its potential as a star planet, and that's why the solar symbiosis process is not fully possible here, at least for now. And so we basically see the main two theories at the moment when it comes to the shape of Earth. We have the flat Earth, which was, cherished back in the ancient times. And then we have the round Earth, which is the current scientific model. So, as you can see, we can think about the fact that, like, yes, we live on a planet which is spherical, and this is Aurora Earth, but at the same time, our net Earth, the 7 continents that we know, well, that's actually flat. That's just a part of um, of a planetary body that we live on. So the reason why we have like these two opposing theories is actually because of the yin-yang overlay. Instead of putting these two theories together to understand that we have Aurora Earth and the net Earth and the structure of probabilities, we have the two opposing agendas that are trying to keep us in the yin-yang overlay, which is the imprint of duality. And this is the best map that I managed to find that helps us describe like the concept of aurora and the net Earth. You can see that the net Earth, the segment of the planet that we know, is surrounded by the ice wall and it is located on a larger globe. So again, the structure of like these continents and whatever is beyond it, I don't necessarily agree with the configuration of the continents, but that doesn't matter because that gives us the overall concept of it. So the ice wall itself is a holographic barrier that prevents us from being able to access other realms of aurora, other probabilities in which we can also reconnect with other aspects of ourselves. One of the main agendas that is hiding the truth behind what's really going on beyond the wall is basically the group that was responsible for creating the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. The Antarctic Treaty is a multinational conspiracy that blocked further exploration of Antarctica, which is a gateway to other probability dominions of Earth, Aurora. The intent is to prevent anyone from traveling too far inland and discovering hidden portals, extra land, ancient ruins, megalithic structures, extraterrestrial bases, or the location where the dome meets the ice. So, can you go to the South Pole for holiday? Yes, you can, but you will not be able to just go there without any surveillance. Like, only guided trips are possible if you want to go to the South Pole, and actually these guided trips are just going to like help you walk around the place, but you're not going to see the actual stargates. You're not going to go too far beyond because there is a certain part where you cannot cross any further because let's just say that there are certain groups on this planet that are very much guarding the place. So the current Project Arctic that started actually in this year represents a part of the planetary targeting agenda that seeks for individuals with the Aby'ssah Passage codes to the other probability dominions of Aurora, and at the same time it hides the real truth behind the increasing interest in the polar regions. So right now we have the Antarctic Treaty as well as we have the Project Arctic, which is searching for individuals that actually have the access codes that allow them to activate the time portals that let's say allow them to access the South Pole remotely. And that's also like a part of the targeting agenda that is put on different individuals. It's all connected to the Project Arctic. So, let's talk a little bit further about the ice wall and so-called gates to Asgard. That's gonna give us like even a bit of more perspective on how all of this actually works in context like, okay, so I would like to go to the South Pole. So like maybe I can first just go there through astral projection or this type of stuff. And in here, the matter gets really serious. So I'll read these excerpts and that will give you a better idea. The ice wall holographic barrier is intended to be analyzed only in theoretical terms due to strict surveillance of the Arctic by the inner government of the net Earth. So I'm just gonna say that the information I'm presenting here are purely theoretical in nature, and this is not scientific in any way. You choose whether you want to believe it or not because you believe what you choose to. And also, the reason why this topic is so sensitive is because there's just a lot of different things that are taking place on the South Pole. Very intense underground activity, so to speak, as well as There's still certain civilizations that live on the South Pole, very advanced civilizations that, let's say, we used to be in contact with them during the times of Hyperborea and Tartaria, but we lost contact with them at some point because the South Pole was completely isolated from the rest of this planet, so that we don't know what are our cosmic origins. Attempts of the out-of-the-body experience, astral projection, or remote viewing are immediately detected if someone tries to view the South Pole. And a conscious identity is typically trapped in the review or holographic planes to prevent any official knowledge from leaking into the collective consciousness. So in general, I do not recommend to do some consciousness projection and send your plasma body, your astral body, or your urea body into the South Pole because your consciousness can get stuck. It happened to me multiple times. Free transit between the probability dominions has been fully shut down due to the Aby'ssah portal system being closed after the fall of Atlantis. Additionally, the gates to Asgard, which are the physical direct passages from the South Pole and to other probability dominions, are directly guarded by the United Nations agenda. Satellites that circulate around the net Earth field only register the reality inside the ice wall. A physical picture of Aurora Earth as a full planetary body has never been taken. So this is like a part of the NASA conspiracy, which actually never released actual satellite images of our planet. This is all nonsense. These pictures have been manufactured just like discovery of the moon and all of that, at least from my perspective. I mean, you guys are free to choose whatever you want to believe. And there's many different lands beyond the wall. Some of them are actually like appearing amongst different legends. For example, Arcadia, which is like this kind of like utopian land described by some of the medieval writers. We also have the Horus Kingdom and Khazaria, which are not necessarily good places, but we also have very Christic ones, which are, for example, Ur, which is also connected to the realm of Inner Earth. So when it comes to these places, they are some of the lands beyond the ice wall. If we were to ask ourselves, okay, so what are these other continents like? What are these other places like beyond the wall? I would say that some of them are actually very Christic and very beautiful and very spiritual and very advanced. And some of them are very fallen, very AI, and hijacked. So it pretty much depends where you go, and yeah, it depends on to which probability you're traveling to. Right now, probability number 3 is the only one that managed to stay connected to the Tartarian timeline. The rest of them is right now receiving the connection to the Tartarian timeline through the Eternal Host. And the new civilizations are also about to be discovered in 2026 and 2027 in the areas of the Gobi and Sahara Desert, from my predictions. These discoveries will expand awareness on the advancement of these ancient tribes because I've been seeing these different images, I think mostly like in some of the Tartarian communities on Facebook and all of it, where you can see like a building that kind of looks melted a little bit like on this image. And it's like in the middle of the desert, and nobody really knows how these buildings look like. Why do they look like as if they're melted? Like, what happened to them? So I used to see Sahara Desert as actually a beautiful jungle full of life. So we don't know that actually there's been a lot of very advanced civilizations in the area of the Gobi Desert as well as Sahara Desert. So the discovery of these civilizations will actually help us gather more answers on the ancient civilizations, and it will definitely change the perspective because these civilizations are more ancient than Mesopotamia. So, along with the discovery of these civilizations, a lot of questions will appear. And the last segment of what I wanted to talk about is something called the water firmament, because that's also connected to the functions of Aurora and how we used to be almost like in this beautiful atmospheric bubble. Hold on, I went out of the screen sharing. Okay. The Hydra firmament is a liquid gel layer of the planetary organic buffer zone located in the Earth's atmospheric layers. It actually originally existed in the ozone layer. The main functions of the water firmament include stabilization of Earth's climate patterns, humidity regulation, as well as protection from the harmful electromagnetic radiation. The firmament created an organic filter of Earth's solar currents essential for the solar symbiosis process to occur. So let's say we almost can imagine that our planet Earth used to be like inside of this beautiful water bubble. And this water bubble was protecting us from the harmful solar radiation. It was letting in this only organic one, only beneficial one. And it was also stabilizing the Earth's climate, which actually used to be much more tropical in every single area of the planet. The water firmament suffered its distortion when the Earth basically got tilted 23 degrees to its axis. Right now, we still have this water firmament functioning, but not to its full extent because of the negative influence of the astral frequency fence. This firmament is progressively being more and more damaged. And at some point, like sometimes, like when you see, like let's say you just see that it's getting cloudy on the sky, and then suddenly this huge rain wave is coming out of a sudden, then these are in a way like these holes in the water firmament. If the water firmament was about to collapse, our planet would suffer from a massive flood and everything would change. So the maintenance of the water firmament is actually one of the objectives of the eternal host. And as I said before, the climate on planet Earth used to be actually the same in every single area before the pole shift and the tilt of the planet. It used to be actually very warm, very tropical, and very humid, but not like in the negative context of it. It actually used to be very pleasant because our anatomy was also much more adjusted to it. Right now, there's a lot of different weather devices on this planet that are progressively distorting the water firmament and also creating artificial weather events that are meant to also distort the elemental kingdom especially. So we can find these devices such as HARP or NextRad or CERN all over the planet. Some of them are more famous, like the one in Switzerland. The CERN is very popular, but there's actually 30,000 other particle accelerators in the planet that are not so much spoken about, and they still have the same function. So right now, the weather that we are seeing, the sky that we are seeing, all of it is a part of a big collective blue beam hologram that we are experiencing right in front of our eyes. So I'm going to talk more about the solutions for this entire drama that's taking place at the moment in the next episode. We are going to talk about how Net Earth and Aurora are going to progressively transition during this time, and the knowledge about the probabilities and how we have the ice wall around us and everything. It's giving us a much more expanded perspective on how this planet is actually going to make its transition starting from 2027 and 2028 when the ascension cycle starts. If you are interested in learning more about this subject and also getting some effective practical tools that can help you with making that shift, I highly recommend you to check out my SoulScension MasterClass that is now available as a product on my website. In there, you have a lot of practical techniques and exercises that allow you to complete the SoulScension process, which is a self-healing journey that allows you to successfully integrate your soul and get to know yourself as your eternal identity. So this is everything for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something new. And I'm going to be releasing the next video soon, in which we are going to talk more about the ascension cycle and the possible solutions. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Bye bye.